So I bought my Steam Deck just a couple weeks before they announced the new Steam Deck OLED model, and I was so sad about it. I kept trying to convince myself that I don't need it. I don't need a new OLED. I don't need it. But after reading multiple comments from you guys saying that I actually do need the Steam Deck OLED, well, I ended up getting one. What's funny is that my previous video was meant to convince you guys how cool the Steam Deck was, but you ended up pulling a Uno reverse card on me, and I ended up getting a Steam Deck OLED myself. But anyways, I've had the Steam Deck OLED for a couple of days now, and in this video I want to show you guys the 5 major differences between the LCD model and this OLED model. And if you don't already have a Steam Deck, or if you are like me and thinking about upgrading your LCD model to an OLED one, you should find this video very helpful. So let's get right into it, starting with the design of the new Steam Deck OLED. Really, there aren't many design changes between the LCD and the OLED model here. You can see overall the body is exactly the same, the buttons are the same, the color is the same. It even fits my old case that I had for my LCD model, which is from Amazon. Honestly, I love this case because it's really similar to the D-brand Kill Switch case, except it's a lot cheaper. I'll make sure to provide a link to this case in my bio. But there are some small differences in the design that I want to show you guys. For one, I noticed that on top there is an orange power button now. It stands out a little bit. I kind of like it, instead of the plain black button that we had on the LCD model. And the next design change that I noticed were the thumbsticks. Now the thumbsticks are a little bit bigger, I think, than the LCD model, but I still love them, especially because they feel a lot more grippy than the LCD model. When I was playing my old Steam Deck, my thumbs would always slip around the thumbsticks, and I appreciate that they made this little change to help the gameplay. And last but not least for these design changes, you might have noticed this already, but the bezels on the Steam Deck OLED are just a little bit smaller than they are on the LCD model, making the screen overall a little bit bigger. Which is a great segue into the next major difference, the screen. And my gosh, this thing is beautiful. As stated before, the screen on the OLED model is just a little bit bigger at 7.4 inches compared to the LCD model, which is only 7 inches. As soon as I turned on the OLED model, I was so excited to play some games on the screen, so I booted up Hades, and immediately I noticed the more vibrant colors, the deeper blacks. It just looks so beautiful. And not only are the colors more vibrant, but they also increase the refresh rate for the Steam Deck OLED screen from 60 Hz to 90 Hz. Overall, this does help the gameplay feel a little bit smoother, but it's not as big of a jump as going from 60 Hz to like 120 Hz, so you probably won't notice a big difference when playing. But yeah, I really appreciate all of the improvements that Valve has made for this screen, and I can't believe that they managed to do this while increasing the battery life on the Steam Deck OLED as well. Which leads us to our third major difference, the battery life between the LCD model and the OLED. Now the battery life on the LCD model was one of the biggest complaints that people have had about this product, and Valve has managed to make a lot of improvements in this area. And as much as I wanted to pull an all-nighter testing the battery life of different games on the LCD model and the OLED, I just didn't have enough time. But if you want me to do that in a follow-up video, leave a comment below. But I did do a small sample test to show you the difference in battery life, so let's cut to that video right now. So I'm gonna do a quick little battery test for both the Steam Deck OLED and the LCD model. I got the OLED fully charged up right now. As you can see, it's 99%. I'm gonna play my favorite game, Hades. We're gonna set the timer for about 30 minutes, and we're gonna see how much the battery drains on each device. So I've been playing Hades for 30 minutes. Let's see how much battery life we lost. As you can see on the OLED screen here, we are now at 87% and we started at 99, so that means we lost 12% of battery. Based off of this extremely rough estimate, this means that I could play Hades for about 4 hours without needing to charge the Steam Deck OLED. Now let's do the exact same test on the Steam Deck LCD model and see how much battery life it loses. All right, and the timer is up. Let's see how much battery life did we lose. On the Steam Deck LCD, we are at 80% and we started at basically 100%. So we lost 20% battery in just 30 minutes of gameplay. Meanwhile, on the Steam Deck OLED, we lost about 12 to 13% in that same amount of time. What this means is that with the Steam Deck LCD, I would only be able to play like 2.5 hours of Hades, but on the Steam Deck OLED model, I would be able to play like 4 hours without needing a charge. Now I know this was a small test and I'm doing rough estimates here, but I just wanted to show you just how much better the Steam Deck OLED's battery is compared to the Steam Deck LCD. But your results will vary because it definitely depends on which game you're playing on your Steam Deck. If you're playing a graphically intense game like Helldivers or Apex or something, you're gonna get a lot less battery life out of your Steam Deck. But if you're playing an indie game or an emulated game, you're going to get a lot longer battery life because those games are not as graphically intense. And usually when I'm traveling, I do carry around an external battery pack so I can charge my Steam Deck on the go. But since the Steam Deck does have much better battery life, this means I can have longer play sessions when I'm on the bus or a train, and I don't need to pull out that big external battery anymore. I don't remember the last time that we've seen a device have such a huge upgrade in battery life while keeping the same form factor. Overall, the OLED model is so much more efficient than the LCD one, not only in terms of battery life, but in terms of thermals as well. Speaking of the thermals, which is the fourth major difference, it was also a big complaint that people had with the LCD model that it would get too hot and the fans would be way too loud. Luckily, they've managed to make some big improvements when it comes to the thermals on the Steam Deck OLED, like updating the internal so that it stays cooler for longer, and also adding a bigger fan so that when it spins, it doesn't create as much noise. Unfortunately, I didn't have the equipment to show you the difference in temperatures between the two devices, but other videos do show that the Steam Deck OLED runs just a few degrees cooler than the LCD model. Personally, the heat itself wasn't really an issue for me since my hands are usually right here and not in the middle where all the heat is generated, but the quieter fans on the OLED model was definitely noticeable, so let me show you guys what that sounds like right now. So before we get to the conclusion, I wanted to point out the fifth and final major difference between the LCD and OLED, and that's the boost in the Wi-Fi speed. Steam Deck OLED comes with a Wi-Fi 6E chip, while the LCD model has just a Wi-Fi 5 chip. And what this basically means is that you can get faster download speeds on the OLED model because it's more compatible with the newer network types that are out there. So I went into desktop mode on both Steam Decks and did a quick speed test to show you the difference in Wi-Fi speeds. And on the LCD model, I was getting about 200 megabits per second. And on the OLED model, I was getting 315 megabits per second. This means that download speeds on the OLED model are about 1.5 times faster than they are on the LCD model. With this, you can download games a lot more quickly on the OLED model, but when you're playing multiplayer games online, you won't see that much of a difference in latency. I just thought about this, but another area that could drastically improve by having these quicker download speeds is when you're remote playing your PS5 or your PC, since you have to send video data from your PC or PS5 to your Steam Deck. Alright, so we've covered all of the major and subtle differences between the Steam Deck LCD and the OLED model, and I'm sure you want to ask me, was the upgrade really worth it? And the short answer to that is yes. Personally, I think the screen and the battery life improvements alone are definitely worth the upgrade. And having all of the other upgrades included, like the Wi-Fi, the thermals, and the slight design changes, was just the cherry on top of the cake for me. Now, the longer answer is the LCD model is still great, especially when you consider how much cheaper it is in price. The LCD model goes for $399, while a new OLED model goes for $549. And functionally, it can do just about everything that the OLED can. It's not like you're going to be playing different games on the OLED versus the LCD. They can play the same games. It's just that the OLED does it a lot more efficiently and looks better while it's doing it. So if you do have the budget and want a more efficient and future-proof device, then you should get the Steam Deck OLED. But if you're on a tight budget and you still want a portable gaming device like this one, then I recommend getting the LCD model, especially if it's secondhand. And I promise you'll still love the device just as much as I did. Thank you so much again for tuning into this video. I hope you found it helpful. And if you did, hit that like and subscribe button so that I know to keep making more videos like this. And I'll catch you next time.